different types of instability. Now, today we'll discuss about the various statistical descriptions of turbulence. Now, as I told, turbulence is a very random process. It is mixing and it has certain frequency and amplitude. Now, that frequency will be varying, and the way in which it varies is very random. So, therefore, we cannot describe the total phenomena of turbulence by normal methods. So we use the statistical parameters or statistical description for describing turbulence. So what we do is we use a certain notation because now we have x, y, z directions. Now instead of using x, y, z directions, u, v, w, like that, what we use is we use an index I, j, k, or simply I. So I may take 1 or 2 or 3. So if I is equal to 1, it is x direction. If I is equal to 2, it is y direction. If I is equal to 3, it is z direction. So therefore, instead of writing u, v, w, we'll write ui. I may be 1 or 2 or 3. So u1 means u, that is x direction. u2 means the velocity in y direction. That is our conventional v. And u3 means the velocity in z direction. That is conventional w. Now, this ui comprises of again two parts. One is the mean value and the other is a fluctuating component. So if we say ui is the velocity, it can be written as sum of ui bar plus ui prime. So this is what we called as decomposition. Decomposition means the velocity is divided into two parts. One is an average value over a given time and the fluctuating point part at that particular time. So ui is written as ui bar plus ui prime as shown in equation 1. Now, in order that the averaging operator is applied in the equations of motion, it is required that this operator satisfies the following general conditions, which are called as Reynolds conditions. So these are the so-called Reynolds conditions. What are they? If I take any two parameters, f and g, so the sum of f and g, when they are averaged, can be written as the average of f plus average of g. Now, all the averages which we are referring are with respect to a time delta t as delta t approaches 0. That means over a very short interval of time. So, f plus g over bar is equal to f bar plus g bar. That is 1. Then we can write alpha times f when it is averaged is alpha f bar, where alpha is a constant or a coefficient, which is time independent. So alpha does not dependent upon the time. So alpha is same throughout the delta t we have considered. So alpha times f when averaged, that is alpha f bar is nothing but alpha times f bar. So that is the second condition. Then third condition is if you differentiate f with respect to any direction s and find the average of that differential, it can be written as the differential of the average. You see, follow what I am saying. See, This is dou f by dou s, and it is averaged. And this is dou f bar by dou s. So this is the third condition. Then fourth condition is, if you take any two parameters f and g, which are varying with respect time. F and g are not constants. Here we have taken f and g are two parameters. So there are statistical parameters. So if I take f bar and multiply by g and take the average of this product, this can be written as the product of f bar g bar. So this is the fourth condition. First condition is f plus g over bar is equal to f bar plus g bar. Second one is alpha times f over bar is equal to alpha f bar. Dou f by dou s over bar is equal to dou f bar by dou s. And f bar times g over bar is equal to f bar into g bar. So here f and g are fluctuating quantities, and alpha is a constant. So on the basis of these Reynolds conditions, these are the Reynolds conditions. Whatever are given in 2, they are Reynolds conditions. So now what I do is, I will consider U and then apply. So therefore, on the basis of Reynolds conditions, we can infer the following. U prime bar is equal to 0. U prime, this is not required. I think something I have missed here. Anyhow, so U prime bar is equal to 0 and U bar of bar is equal to U bar. See, what is U bar? U bar is nothing but you consider a time, delta t. So over this, the velocity is varying and you find U bar. And at each and every point that U bar is same. So therefore, once again averaging it will give you same U bar. Now all the averages here are time average. So how it is defined? The time average is defined as, this is denoted like this, U bar with respect t, that is with respect time, which is a function of time. Actually, U is a function of time. So that is equal to 1 by t integral of, now let us consider like this. Now I am at this particular point of time. So I am interested the average parameters at this time. So I will select a time interval of capital T, which we are till now referring as delta T. So if I want any average parameter at this particular T, I have to take half of t on the prior to this, and I have to take t by 2 after this time and define our averaging process. So you calculate u at t plus tau. Tau is any time in between. So you go on taking the value of u at this point and after a small time tau, this is small time or delta t, what we are saying. So this is a small time tau. So here it is u. And here it is u plus u t of t plus tau. So what we do is we go on adding all these things and divide by t. And what are the limits? These are the limits. If I take t is equal to 0, that means at any given instance of time, so the limits will become minus t by 2 minus t by 2 to plus t by 2. So this is the averaging with respect to time. Now we can also average with respect to distance, linear. So that I will indicate with respect to L. Here it is T. This is time average. This is linear average. So same way, 1 by L x plus a small distance and d zeta. So these are dummy variables. This tau is a dummy variable. So also this. Right? So here afterwards we use see, Mr. Hrishikesh, you are always late. Afterwards, we use the subscripts to indicate the kind of averaging we are considering. That means either T or L. We'll use subscript, not superscript. So here we'll write UL or ut like that. Now, while the averaging operators defined in 4 and 5 are very useful in practical sense, they have one big disadvantage. They do not satisfy the last condition in particular. This is the last condition. This condition they will not satisfy. So if, for example, we apply expression 4 twice to compute u bar, the integral over which the function t plus tau should be known would be double from t to 2t. In other words, this will not be satisfied. For this reason, the definitions are theoretically not applicable. So what happens, this condition the reason is the time is shifting. So in shifting time, the average need not be maintained the same. So that is the constraint we have. That is the constraint we have. So for this reason, the definitions are theoretically not applicable. That is why we focus on another average, the so-called ensemble average. Let us see what it is. Ensemble average is defined as u bar is equal to 1 by n sigma some dummy value alpha equal to 1 to n u of alpha as n tends to infinity. So that means we consider a very long time and then go on averaging it and take the limit for n tending to infinity. So at each and every stage, we take this u. Alpha indicates the realization of the experiment. That means the experimental value. So the definition in 6 meets all 4 Reynolds conditions. See, these are the 4 Reynolds conditions. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. So if we define our average like this, so this is a satisfactory definition, or it will satisfy all the conditions. Thus, in our future discussions, the overbar or any quantity represents the ensemble average. So that means what we take is we consider n tending to infinity, the value of any parameter summed over beginning to the end. Okay. So the mathematical description of ensemble average will be more appropriate to use the theory of stochastic process. See, in the stochastic process, we do 2 things. One is we consider the variations with respect to a small interval of time, and then we extend it to an infinite time and take the limit as the time or whatever it is, the parameter tends to infinity and average that. So that is what the stochastic process considers. So in this theory, the variables are described in terms of a probability distribution. Now all of you just follow this probability distribution, because in your applied hydrology course, you have distribution and other things also, uh, which your instructor Minor Babu has requested me to handle, so that I will take as a separate class later after we finish our AFM fourth unit. So the probability distributions are given like this. Consider the velocity component u. Now the probability that the velocity is less than u, the velocity at any given instant of time, that we are calling as u star. So that is less than a particular value u, and it is greater than u star plus du star. So you consider a velocity which is between u star and u star plus du star. So now we would define the probability of occurrence of that velocity between these two limits. That means, I will give you a simple example. Now consider the at a point at a time the velocity. Now what I say is, what is the probability of the velocity at that point and time is between 1 and 1.5. So here u star is 1 and du star is 0.5. So what the at any given point, that is u, is between 1, that is u star, and 1.5, that is u star plus du star. So that is the definition of probability. So the superscript star indicates a reference to a particular value of u. So the subscript m means that the probability distribution is basically a function of the position and time. Well, that is the position in space and time. So consider, again I am defining it. So if I consider any point which is at a distance x from a reference point and at a time t with respect to any reference time, initial reference time 0, so that at that point or at that location or at that instant, if I say the velocity is u, what is the probability of that u being between u star and u star plus du star? So that is the probability. So that probability is indicated as P M U star du star. So now by integration over all values of u, we can write equation 6, this equation. This average and summation can always be replaced by integration. So I will say that u bar x under bar t, x under bar refers to a location, distance, at any given distance point. But at any time t, now why we have used underbar here and we have not used underbar here is only that we are referring to the fluctuations at any given distance x, that means we are freezing the point but varying the time. Time is varying, but the position is fixed with respect to the linear position is fixed. So that is defined as integration all the points u star pm u star du star. So this is what u bar xt means. So using the probability distribution Pm, we can calculate other statistical parameters as well. Here, what is this Pm? Pm is a probability. So it is the probability of occurrence. So if that probability of occurrence, suppose we consider it is known. Suppose it is considered known. Then we can calculate all the other statistical parameters. For example, variance is nothing but, what is the variance? How do you define variance? Variance is defined as, you consider U. U contains two parts. So you consider square of this and average. So this is the variance. This is the variance. So it is equal to U star minus U bar whole squared Pm U star du. See, this U star in this definition, we are replacing this U bar by this value. So the corresponding value here to be used is the change between your reference value of U star and the actual value of U and square it. So this is same as so that we are finding average. So for that we are finding this average. So that is how variance is defined. Now standard deviation is nothing but square root of variance. This is your statistical. So this is your variance. So square root of that is standard deviation. So we can generalize this expression so as to represent any quantity. Now, what we are interested is We are not interested in one parameter. We are interested in U. You are interested in U1. We are interested in U2. We are interested in U3. We are interested in P1, P2, P3, tau 1, tau 2, tau 3, like that. Because all are fluctuating, possibly fluctuating parameters. So what we do is we write a general expression saying that Fu bar is equal to Fu. So the description can be easily extended to two variables. Now, this is a single variable. This is a single variable. Now, what I will do is I will consider two parameters, two variables. Say, for example, Ui and Uj. So, what is the probability that Ui star less than Ui less than Ui star plus Dui star and call from the university, so I could not, I have attended it. Now, so if we consider the product of this, I can extend the same type of definition. Only thing is this U is replaced by the product. You see? And it is a double integration because we have Ui and Uj. So this is what is called as covariance. This is what is called as covariance. See, this is variance. This is variance. This variance is with respect to same parameter, single parameter. You have only one parameter U. But whereas here what you have? Two parameters. So, and they are averaged. So therefore, this is called as covariance. So far, we are discussing about the probability distribution Pm at a single position M, right? Here what we have taken? Here we have taken this is M, that is one location. Now, what we do is we will not restrict ourselves to one location, but we'll consider different locations. So, the earlier one, it is a single point distribution. The quantities calculated with 7 and 8 using this method are movements. See, the 7 this is a single point, but only one parameter. This also a single point, but two parameters. This one. Or okay, that or this also we can say. See, this is a single point, a single parameter, and this is a single point. This is also a single point, but parameters here are two. So this first order and this is second order. That is first order and this is second order. Now these are single point. Now what we do? We define the same thing for two points. So M1 is one point location, M2 at another location. So if we consider only one parameter, it will be first order. If we consider two parameters, ui and uj, it will be second order. So this is the definition. So this is called as correlation between ui and uj. Our parameters are ui and uj, where at M1 and M2. Okay. So this is as a 2-point average. 1 minute, I will come back. Now, I have given the Reynolds conditions earlier here. The Reynolds conditions. Now here, I am going to give the proofs for it. Okay. You just look at this. Note these things and try to repeat them. So these three slides, verify whether I have given these things in your notes earlier. Let me check whether I have given this or not. MWHI to AFMU4 turbulent flows L15 PDF. So in that page numbers 45, 45, 46, 47, 48. So these three pages you refer. See, on 14th I have given, this is total unit 4 material. Note that some pages are repeated. So in that particular file, it is there. So day before yesterday, I have sent it. Got it? All of you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, work it out. Meanwhile, I'll return back. కూర్చో కాదు పడుకోవడం అలా ఎక్కువసేపు పడుకోకు కూర్చో. Two aspects which are very, very important again in stochastic or turbulence. What they are called as stationarity and homogeneity. Now, stationarity means a process where the probability distribution is invariant to translation in time. What is translation? Translation means displacement. So, for a single point distribution, this means that P at any t, if it is equal to P of t plus dt. So that means the probability remains same at different time steps. So this is called as a stationarity or stationarity process. That is, P is independent of time. So consequently, all single point averages are independent of time. So all single point averages, because averages, they will not depend upon time. So therefore, all single point averages are independent of time. That means U bar, U prime square bar. So all are not functions of t. So if that is the case, then it is called as a stationarity phenomena. Similarly, the same thing can hold good for 2-point averages also. So in case of 2-point averages, simply they need not depend upon the time, but they are dependent on the time difference. For 2-point averages, stationary would mean that the probability distribution is only a function of the time difference, T1 minus T2. So if T1 minus T2 is maintained same, then they will be stationary. So if T1 minus T2 is not same, then these will depend upon that T1 minus T2, right? That is for 2-point. Then homogeneity. The second special process is a homogeneous stochastic process for translations along a line in space. That means we consider a line in the space, and in this single point averages are independent of the coordinates along that line. Earlier, stationarity is with respect to time. Now homogeneity is with respect to space. So the same thing which we have attributed to time, if now it is attributed to space, then it is called as a homogeneous homogeneity of stochastic process. Now, so till now what we have discussed about 2-point linear and second order single point, 2-point. So on one hand, the time and space averages, that is U bar T and U bar L respectively, and on the other hand, the ensemble averages U bar. Now, to identify the way in which these two types of averages are related to each other, now we introduce what is known as an ergodicity hypothesis. What is that ergodicity hypothesis? On the basis of this hypothesis, it is assumed that for a stationary process, if the limit t tends to infinity, U bar t is equal to U bar, then it is the stationary process. So in a stationary process, this is the assumption. Limit as t tends to infinity, U bar T is equal to U bar. So for a stationary process, same thing we can replace T by L, and we can say that for a stationary process, we can treat the same average as the ensemble average on the basis of the same theorem. It holds that for a homogeneous process, limit L tending to infinity, U bar L is equal to U bar. So the ergodicity means that for a stationary process, this is the condition. For a stationary process, this is the condition. Sorry. Yes. For a homogeneous process, this is the condition. This is for stationary. So this is what is called as your ergodicity hypothesis. This is homogeneous. Now the next step in our discussions is the derivation of the so-called Reynolds equations, which describe the turbulent motion. We have the equations of motion, that is the Navier-Stokes equations for laminar flow. So we can now develop the same thing for turbulent flows also. But before that, let me introduce to you what is known as a tensor notation. Now, okay. So before I proceed to the Reynolds equations, because I am considering the Reynolds equations, these are your Navier-Stokes equations only. But the only thing is written for turbulent flow. So these are replaced in tensor form, and then later they are simplified. So before that, let me introduce to you what is a tensor notation. General complexity of equations describing turbulent flow has led to the use of special notation known as tensor notation. You have vector notation and then no tensor notation. Tensor notations will enable reducing the number of terms. See, vector notations have enabled to reduce the number of equations. With the help of one equation, when it is written, it can be split into three equations by considering the vector notation. Now here, the number of terms will be reduced. So therefore, it is the double advantage. First, we can consider the vector notation and then transfer it to tensor notation. So clarifying the meaning of an equation by collecting all terms of a particular type into one convenient so that the relationship between group is not obscured by sheer quantity of symbols. So in tensor notation, we use two subscripts, small I and small j. 1 minute. I and j. These subscripts indicate the component of directional, that is the vector quantity, and when an operator is to be repeated consecutively in a systematic manner. So we use these two indices or subscripts to indicate the direction as well as the repeativity. Now look at this. Repetition of an index in a term indicates that the associated quantity or quantities are to be summed over the possible components. Now, to explain this with the help of continuity equation, we write that dou ui by dou xi is equal to 0. That means what? We have I in both numerator and in denominator. So I varies from 1, 2, 3. So that means it has to be summed up considering the first parameter, the second in the denominator, first variable with respect to are similar to x. So that means when I say dou ui by dou xi is equal to 0, it means that dou u by dou x plus dou v by dou y plus dou w by dou z is equal to 0. That is a very simple thing to understand. Is it clear? All of you, is this clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, similarly, considering the same, we write the Laplace operator. The Laplace operator is del square. So it can be anything. Del square phi, del square psi. So it is del square is equal to what we write is dou square by dou xi, dou xi. So by writing this one term, we are meaning the terms. See here, I and I. So this is Laplace operator. Now, now if you consider the Navier-Stokes equation, in Navier-Stokes equations, what do you have? I will write the Navier-Stokes equation, say here. See, this is your Navier-Stokes equation. Now here we have u, 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 and u, v, w, x, y, and z. So here one parameter is constant, the other parameter is repeating. So therefore, in our tensor notation, what as this is written as dou ui by dou t. So that means I am referring to x direction. And the subscript is 1. Then, so when I say here dou ui by dou t, then what will be this? Now here, in these terms, which is constant? This is constant. This is constant. This is constant. And which are varying? This is varying. This is varying. Similarly, this is varying. This is varying. So this is varying. So therefore, when I have associated I to this, so I have to use j here. So I have to write uj. So when I use this j, it means that it is not 1, but j will be varying 1, 2, and 3. So that means this is, if I take j is equal to 1, what is uj? It is ui, or simply our u. Then here, dou ui, that means it is u. So it is this parameter. And here I have an xi, sorry, xj. This is xj. This is x. J, not I. So xj. So that means the to be repeated. So this term, therefore, is split into these 3 terms. And this x is written as xi, and this p is constant. P pressure is a scalar quantity. So it is not indicated. But here it is xi. So this entire equation is for I is equal to 1. That means x direction. And I can repeat this I is equal to 2. I'll get for y direction. And if I replace it by 3, I'll get the equation in z direction. So every time when I take I equal to 1, this remains constant, this remains constant, this remains constant, this remains constant. But these things vary. This constant. So let us now look at the expanded form once again. So this is what I have written there. This is in tensor notation. So dou ui by dou t plus uj dou ui by dou xj xi minus 1 by rho dou p by dou xi plus nu dou square ui by dou xj dou xj. See, we could reduce the number of terms. How many terms are here? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whereas here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If we expand this still, it will be actually 3 terms. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All these 9 terms are simply written with the help of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terms. So that is the advantage of your tensor notation. Why this tensor notation is advantageous? Because here we have u, v, w, p. All these are again contain 2 parts, the mean part and the fluctuating part. So u bar plus u prime, v bar, v prime. So therefore, when we substitute for u, v, w, p, the number of terms will increase. If the instantaneous quantities u, v, w, and p are replaced by the equivalents u bar plus u prime, v bar plus v prime, w bar plus w prime, and p bar plus p prime, and if dou ui by dou t par is henceforth assumed to be 0, it will be found that the Navier-Stokes equations and each of its components can be separated into 2 parts. So that is what we get. So if we substitute these parameters, here here and simplify. So this your equation will be this simple equation. That is the equation in your tensor notation. So using this, we'll try to further simplify equations which are called the Reynolds equations. Now, this is what, now all of you, after this class is over today, from this day onwards, you try to understand. This is the general equation in tensor form. Dou ui by dou t plus uj dou ui by dou xj is equal to xi minus 1 by rho dou p by dou xa plus nu dou square ui by dou xj dou xj. This is without decomposition. So when we use decomposition, then u, v, w will be like this. So similarly uj also will be like that. So these are what are called as the averaging rules, which we have considered earlier. So considering this and this equation 11, equation 2 can be simplified. So in tensor form, the continuity equation and Reynolds rules given above will be as follows. See, this is the continuity equation. And then these are the Reynolds rules. So using your decomposition and replacing the instantaneous values by sum of mean and fluctuating components and applying this Reynolds rules, this equation 2 will now take this part, this shape. See, you have to sit coolly and substitute and note only, because if I just read it, you will not be able to understand. So you have to work it out. Now, the terms, some terms will vanish, and the terms which will vanish are given here. So the ultimate simplification will result in this equation. This equation 4 sorry, okay, doesn't matter. Is in shorthand description of the three equations and referred as Reynolds equations. So these are Reynolds equations, that is NS equations for turbulent flow. But we no longer call it as Navier-Stokes equation. We call it as only Reynolds equations or equations of motion for turbulent flow. Right? So this is in shorthand form or short form, and these are expanded. So when you expand it, this is how they will look. Then what we can do is, we can consider steady flow. Steady flow means this will be 0, this will be 0, and some other symbols can be used. So if we consider the steady flow and many of the cross products will become 0, so the Reynolds equations in short form for steady flow is this. So its corresponding equation in x direction is written here for your reference. So what I suggest is you just go through these equations because I cannot explain them here like this. This is only a derivation which you have to do. So that you have to follow each and every step. So the ultimate thing which we are interested are what are known as the Reynolds stresses. The Reynolds stresses are minus rho u prime square bar minus rho v prime square bar and minus rho w prime square bar are always non-zero because they contain squared velocity components. The remaining 6 terms in the shear see, this is one. See, what I am saying, this is non-negative, but its direction is in the opposite direction. Similarly, this is the second one, and this is the third one. These three are called as Reynolds stresses, shear stresses. So the remaining 6 are shear stresses, and they would be if the fluctuations were statistically independent. It can be further seen that this you can see here. It is product of u v primes. So v u prime, they are same. Similarly, this pair and this pair. Just similar to your tau xy and tau yx. So ultimately what you get is 3 normal stresses and 3 shear stresses. These are the normal stresses, Reynolds stresses. So Reynolds stresses are normal stresses because they are squares. So ultimately you have 3 normal stresses and shear stresses. as it was the case in case of, as it was the case for laminar flow also. In laminar flow, we are similarly we have sigma x, sigma y, sigma z, and then tau xy, tau yz, tau zx. So here also we have three normal stresses, Reynolds stresses, that is rho u prime square, rho v prime square bar, and rho w prime square bar. The minus sign attached with each of it indicates that they act in the direction opposite to the surface, like similar to your pressure force. So these are the so-called Reynolds equations. Now we are left with two topics: theories of turbulence and then your velocity gradients, velocity distributions. As I told, I will be skipping these velocity distributions because you have studied them in your undergraduate. I will just explain the Karman's similarity hypothesis in tomorrow's class. I mean, not Karman's, but all the theories of turbulence, turbulence models they are called as. Okay, so this we will consider tomorrow. And Friday, we will not have any class. Uh, Saturday we'll have class as usual, RM class. And next week, your second semester starts. And before that, maybe Saturday or Sunday, I will give you the 5th unit notes. So with that, your syllabus will be completed. And as requested by Mahendra Babu, I will take 1 or 2 classes in the next week. Maybe Monday morning and Tuesday morning, right? And as regards to the second semester subjects, I will be handling groundwater flow or groundwater engineering and I think one elective coastal engineering and ocean engineering. So, were you being contacted by HOD or anyone for giving options for the electives?